Bob, it's always a difficult call to make when you're asking people to evacuate.
Right.
And then maybe the storm isn't quite as bad as we thought it would be. But as you said, I mean, the difference in a few hundred miles, I mean, less than
40 miles,
Yeah.
really. I mean, 40 miles difference. If it would have been 40 miles over to the left, it would have been just devastated again along the coast of Florida. And that's what the projection could have been. And we also just said that if it goes to the right, you're not going to get any hurricane force winds, and we never really did along the coast here as far as sustained hurricane force winds.
Which is great.
Yeah, it is great. It's good news, but unfortunately some people are going to go, well, what do we do next time? Do we evacuate? But I'll tell you what, for every 4 times you're asked to evacuate, only 1 time are you really going to have an impact. So it's not that accurate yet, and the National Hurricane Center actually has to project 48 hours in advance where this storm is going to be. They have to issue the warning so people can get out of harm's way. It gives enough lead time, and that 48-hour error rate can be up to 84 miles, and that made the difference with this particular storm. And it was a record breaker, and there's many records that are coming out as it moves to the northeast, really northeast right now. Get a look at this. This is the 5th longest major hurricane now since satellite era 1966. Matthew is tied with Fabian for being around as a major storm, category 3, 4, 5, for 7¼ days. You can see the highest one there is Ivan back in 2004 when it was a major hurricane for 10 straight days. Just to give you an indication. And by the way, the energy generated by Matthew is half of what the entire season is here in the Atlantic Basin so far, and it ranks as one of the highest energy producing storms in the history since September 25th. So a late season, a very powerful storm. Still getting some pretty strong winds right now. CORTEZ Bridge Cam showing those palm trees swaying a bit. The wind pretty strong for folks who got there to do some kite surfing. Francis Tucci sending this one into our picks at mysuncoast.com. Well, here it goes, continuing to spin off. Notice the motion and movement. It appears that it's moving more northeasterly now, too, and that may be good news for Georgia. Again, and South Carolina appears to get very close to this storm on the forecast path and track, but it's going to be on more of an angle, a right angle, and so that means a little bit more storm surge. It could get as high as 10 feet, I think, in some of the areas if it gets close enough to it. Again, the storm surge reports so far have been pretty impressive, up to 5 to 6 feet now in northeast portion of the state of Florida. And you can see this one in particular right there near Ferdinand Beach at about 5 feet, and another one just to the south at about 4½ feet. These storm reports come in. These are basically hurricane force gusts, but they had no sustained hurricane force winds there, as the main core of heavy energy stayed offshore through its duration along the east coast of Florida, which is some good news there. No more warnings for us. We're in the clear here. Still some hurricane warnings for the northeast coast. As far as wave heights go, look at this 30-foot wave height to the east, basically, of the center and right around the center of Matthew. Currently here we have some clouds and 84 degrees. It feels like 91, a little bit humid out there as a result of this warm, moist air, and winds out of the northwest at 24 miles an hour. The drier air will slip in throughout the day tomorrow. Should be really nice tomorrow night and Sunday morning. 86 the high, 94 the record set in 1973, and we were slightly below average for a high temperature today, and that was due to the cloud cover for the most part. Well, a lot of dry air here. This is going to eventually work its way in as this pulls further off toward South Carolina. It's going to move back to the southeast, some dry air to the northeast of it as well. And the tropical satellite imagery showing some pretty deep convection around the center of the storm. Not much to the west. My brother was in Orlando visiting from Kansas City, and they rode the storm out there, and they said it was fairly uneventful. They didn't see a whole lot of stuff going on there, but it could have been much worse, and that's what I told them. I said, listen, these storms can move in different directions in that cone, and sometimes you get lucky. And I think we got pretty lucky for the most part. Not too lucky right now in Jacksonville, though. Folks there are getting hammered, especially near the coast, as the storm continues to expected to make a turn to the right, maybe never making landfall in the United States. It's already made landfall in 3 different countries, Cuba, Haiti, and the Bahamas. That's the first time ever a major hurricane has made landfall in 3 separate countries, and it did that as well with Matthew. Well, we have Nicole out there. Nothing else brewing, but I would not be surprised to see, I'd say, 2 more storms before the official end of the hurricane season. And typically storms in October, we talked about this a few weeks ago, October storms, 50% of them hit Florida or have an impact on Florida. So this one did for the most part. Tropic storm Nicole is expected to move off toward Bermuda as a tropical storm. Again, water temperatures still very warm even after the storm has moved on through. Low tide looks like this, 11:02 tonight for a low tide. High tide will be at 4:32. Another low tide at 1:29 and sunset at 7:09. Tonight's forecast, mostly cloudy. It will be breezy. West winds to northwest winds 10 to 20 miles an hour, 77 for a low. And then finally, some sunshine and slightly cooler temperatures on Sunday. Look at Monday for Columbus Day, 83 for a high and low 70s. We could even see some upper 60s in inland places. Scott, back to you.